Day. Now, the foreign scene, at least 20 people killed as Russian strikes hit several regions in Ukraine overnight. Good evening. This is News at 7 on West Spring Television. My name is Tomilola Daniel. The ongoing terrorism case against leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has been reassigned to another judge. The reassignment was directed by the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court in Abuja, John Soho, after a month of intense pressure. The Special Counsel to Kanu, Aloy Ejimako, disclosed this in a statement on Saturday. Justice Binta Nyako had been presiding over the trial of the IPOB leader. However, during the court hearing on the 24th of September 2024, Kanu requested that Nyako recuse herself from presiding over the matter, accusing the judge of bias. Consequent to this latest development, Kanu instructed the legal team to publicly convey its sincere gratitude to the Chief Justice of Nigeria for her second administrative discretions and the dispatch with which she responded to his request. His legal team also expresses profound appreciation to members of the general public who publicly expressed their support. Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno has described as untrue the 700 billion naira fraud allegation leveled against his immediate predecessor, Udom Emmanuel, by the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking and being probed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Eno reviewed this at a town hall meeting in the Abak area of the state on Saturday. The People's Democratic Party, PDP governor, condemned what he described as the vilification of the past governors of the oil-rich South state since the return to democracy in 1999. The governor said subjecting leaders to fraud probes after they accept their people while in office would discourage those currently in office from giving their best while in service. On Tuesday, operatives of the EFCC detained Emmanuel for alleged 700 billion naira fraud. This followed the petitioner's allegations of money laundering and diversion of funds preferred against Emmanuel, who was Akwa Ibom State Governor from May 2015 to May 2023. In the meantime, Senate leader Okpeyemi Bamidele has clarified that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended for gross misconduct, not because of a sexual harassment allegation she made against the president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. The lawmaker representing Ekiti Central Senatorial District said false narratives are being circulated by certain media organizations on Akpoti-Uduaghan's 6-month suspension. Reacting to the aftermath of the suspension, Okpeyemi stressed that Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended solely for her persistent act of misconduct, blatant disregard for the provisions of the Senate Standing Orders 2023, and gross indiscipline. Okpeyemi urged the public and the media to disregard any false report suggesting otherwise and to always seek the truth before spreading politically motivated narratives. Similarly, the Senate President on Saturday said Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan traumatized him and others. Speaking at an event to commemorate International Women's Day, Akpabio raised concerns that he was merely her latest victim, saying previous allegations by Natasha had turned out to be false. A wife of the governor of Osun State, Erelu Ngozi Adeleke, has said Nigerian men have set unattainable standards for women, bearing them from crucial societal roles and relegating them to lesser positions. Erelu Adeleke said this on Western Spring Television's Morning Spring in commemoration of this year's International Women's Day. The governor's wife alluded to the case of the Kogi Central Senator, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, saying it has discouraged many women from pursuing political careers. Addressing continental issues such as female genital mutilation and gender-based violence, the NET ambassador highlighted her sensitization effort in remote Osun villages. She further stressed that in tackling gender-based violence, women must be cautious about associations and prioritize diligence over reliance on quick financial gains. International Women's Day, celebrated yearly on the 8th of March, was inspired by work of thousands of suffragists who were campaigning for more rights for women, including the right to vote.
Us a la carte. What we are saying is the barriers our men has created already. The barriers are too high for women. Can they bring it down? Do you understand?
Can we really bring it down?
Look at what usually play out when you're going into a governorship. You want to become a candidate. You know how much they pay for it? That's number one barrier.
Money.
Yes. The finance. Do you understand? That's number one. I don't know if you understand. Yes. Okay, take for example what has happened in the Senate. Because the men, they are in the majority. You saw how it played out, which I don't even want to go into. It's not in my place to go into it. You saw how it played out. Likewise, every other thing. Because that the ones that have already captured these politics, they are everywhere. You know, the women are like pushing from behind. We are not yet there. So every decision making, like take for example, let's say in primaries, is it not party men that will nominate?
How about having party women as well?
But when they have covered every, you know what we are talking about. Okay. When the men have occupied all seats, that the chairman, they are the deputy chairman, they are the men are everything. In the process of all these things, have women in mind. Because if our men can have open mind to this inclusiveness, it will happen. But the way they block everywhere, they're like, no, these women, we don't remain in their mentality is, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be in the kitchen. I enrolled women in cosmetology. Adeleke Humanitarian Foundation, cosmetology, to learn the skills. As at last year, it's supposed to be 1 year program. As at this January, they graduated. Now, it behoves on me to give them something for startup, because training them to acquire the skill is not just enough. I have to give them that support they need for startup. That sensitization, the campaign sort of to rural areas, which I gave them the buses, the mole buses, to take them around Osun villages, all those Erimo, Ilesha, all those inside villages, to go and sensitize both our kings, all the Oloris, because all these things, they know about it. And when you speak to them, they agree that it does.
Similarly, President Bola Tinubu has extolled the virtue of women as the world celebrates this year's International Women's Day. In a statement sent by him on Saturday, the president praised the resilience, brilliance, and indispensable contributions of Nigerian women, describing them as the strength that powers the country. He said his administration is committed to actualizing the renewed hope agenda. Tinubu noted that women are the bedrock of the nation, driving progress from homes to farms, boardrooms, and communities. The theme for this year's celebration is tagged "Invest in Women, Accelerate Action." As the world celebrates International Women's Day, some women have lamented the lack of support from their spouses and chosen family planning methods. Statistics show that 21% of married women access family plans in Nigeria. The low prevalence rate has also been attributed to fears attached to family planning methods. In this report, Lydia Adegbaju looks at people's experiences and the family planning expert perspective.
A lot of myths and fears surround the use of family planning among men and women in Nigeria. Some of them include the fear of gaining weight, excessive bleeding, irregular cycle among women, amongst others. These fears have been attributed to the lower prevalence rate of women accessing family planning methods in Nigeria, although a report from the World Health Organization (WHO) says the number of women desiring to use family planning across the world has increased to nearly 1.1 billion in the past 2 decades. Nigeria still records a 21% prevalence rate amongst married women in 2023. Speaking about their experience, Mrs. Barakat Omikunle says she is not interested because of the possible side effects and stigma.
So kiwani invest nǹkan tí wọ́n máa ṣe máa disturb èèyàn at the end of the day ìyẹn lè ṣe tó máa ti máa sọ pé nítorí pé bóyá èèyàn ò rọ́kùnrin bóyá nítorí ẹ̀ ló jẹ́ kí nǹkan máa ṣe èèyàn àbí pé nǹkan kan yẹn so ní tèmi ṣe decide lọ́kàn nìyẹn tèmi ṣe ń tèmi.
Addressing the fears and myths, the Deputy Director of Nursing Service and Family Planning Consultant at Uni Osun Teaching Hospital, Mrs. Olushola Shangolade, spoke on available measures to curb the side effects. She also emphasized the benefits of child spacing, especially for women's reproductive systems.
So if a woman comes, when they come for counseling, I will educate my clients. This injectable that you want to go on it, because they need to know the side effects before they go into it. It can cause irregularity in menses. The irregularity in menses may be that you are not doing your menstruation, or it might be much. If you are not doing your menstruation, there is no cause for alarm. It doesn't affect your health negatively. One should be able to give birth. One should give birth to the number of children one can take care of. Another thing why we should women particularly should go for the option of family planning is that artificial twins, so that they will not give birth to artificial twins. If you give birth this year, your child is not up to Asia, you have taken in again. Definitely you have artificial twins, and it should be a burden on that woman. Pregnancy itself is stress. It's very, very stressful for a woman. So it's really good for a woman to have recovered from stress of pregnancy, one pregnancy, before she gets another one. So there should be at least space of at least 2 years between one child and another.
Meanwhile, Mrs. Motunraya Abokede said the economic situation of the country pushed her into seeking contraceptives, while Mr. Kelvin Bassi, on his part, believes family planning affords one the luxury of giving children proper care.
About situation of things, nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ níta nísìn, èèyàn gbọ́dọ̀ fi plan sí live. So that's why tí mo fi ṣe. So wọ́n dẹ̀ ní tí n bá fẹ́ bímọ, mo lè yọ. So kò dé affect ìgbà tí mo bí ta lákọ̀ọ́kọ́, mo lọ ṣe. So ìgbà tí mo dẹ̀ tún need láti bí ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì, mo lọ yọ.
So the ones that really don't have a good job, so they can train the ones they have, because bearing children up and down these days is not really important. What is important is how you train your children.
Sharing her experience, Mrs. Adeshina said opting for family planning did not affect intimacy with her spouse, but helps prevent unwanted pregnancy.
Àgbà tí mo dẹ̀ ti ṣe kò affect mi, kò ní mí lára, period mi ń lọ bó ṣe kó lọ, kò sí nǹkan tó ṣe mí. Tó bá dẹ̀ tásìkò àti ṣe kinní náà, bàbá wọlé wọ́n jáde bó ṣe wù wọ́n ni, so mi ní any problem. Àwọn obìnrin tó bá fẹ́ ṣe kàn ṣe, ó wúlò dáa fún oyún téèyàn ò expect.
However, there is also the issue of disinterest among men, as some women who spoke anonymously with this correspondent lament how they had to secretly visit hospitals to access family planning. With this, Mrs. Shangolade urged men to be more forthcoming, noting that family planning is not just a woman's business and listed methods available for men.
When we say family planning, it's not about women alone. But what happens is that the device, the method that are available presently are mainly for women. But it has to be the decision between the husband and the wife. The woman alone cannot take the decision. However, the men too, they are always reluctant when it comes to them to, to take their own, the condom of a thing. Because, I said the other time, it decreases sexual satisfaction. So most men doesn't like it. And most women too doesn't like condom. You understand? That is aside. But I talk about vasectomy the other time. Most men doesn't want it. So we want to appeal to our men. vasectomy is both for the family, the enjoyment, I mean the advantage is both for the family. So the burden should not rest only on we women. So for those that have completed their family, their husbands too can come for vasectomy.
Some of the family planning methods available in Nigeria include intrauterine contraceptive device, IUD, injectables, condoms for both male and female, implants, contraceptive pills, and sterilization, popularly known as vasectomy. Going forward, it is expected that more men become more open to the idea of family planning and that more support be shown to women as they go through the process. Lydia Adegbaju, Western Spring Television News.
To speak more on family planning on commemoration of the International Women's Day, we are now joined on the news at 7 by Osun Adolescent Health Desk Officer Roslyn Akilabi. Thank you for joining us on the news.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy International Women's Day.
Same to you. It's another International Women's Day celebration, and there have been lots of talks around women's rights. How does family planning advance women's rights and empowerment?
All right. This day, we are commemorating International Women's Day with the theme Accelerate Action for Women and Girls, Equity, Right, Equity, and Empowerment. And I would like to say that there is no way we'll be able to achieve this empowerment we are talking about if we left out family planning. Because empowering women starts from allowing them to make choices about their reproductive health. Let that woman be able to say, I want to have this child. Let the child come as you want, not by chance. Let it be according to plan. And then empowering women, you cannot empower somebody that is not physically, in terms of health, agile enough to at least source for income and do one or two things, which family planning also provide that platform for women to have that sound head to be able to cater for ourselves.
The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Accelerate Action, and there are calls for rapid advancement in gender equality. Some people have said that a way to ensure gender equality is to accelerate women's access to family planning. How true is this?
All right, it is true because, like I said, family planning offers women opportunities to make choices, to make the right choice about their reproductive health. And it is always said that if any woman take up any family planning method, like 70% of deaths have been affected on that woman. What did I mean? Some of the issues that women has, especially during that age of reproduction, always go with pregnancy, delivery, and the likes. And so if any woman have that access to family planning, she'll be able to dictate, she'll be able to have that strength for her to make informed choice. She will be able to make informed choice about when do I want to have my baby, the spacing. She'll be able to cope with her own health. And by so doing, she will also have opportunities to develop herself. You cannot achieve equality. Look at it now. If like adolescent now, if adolescent girl and boy meet together and the lady end up getting pregnant, it is the lady that will drop out of school. The boy still continues school. So how do you ensure equality with that? Because at the long run, she becomes a dropout. She won't be able to fetch for herself. And before you know it, they even end up having the second baby unknowingly because she has not studied herself to even know that she can get pregnant at any time. So family planning is a major key and is a major action we need to take if we want to ensure women empowerment.
Okay, yeah, in Osun State, how accessible is family planning services for women?
So in Osun State, looking at Osun State as a case study, family planning services is accessible in all our government hospitals, primary care center. That means even at the grassroots, women has access to family planning services and some of our private facilities also.
And there's also a report that some women are scared of going into family planning because of the side effect. And in what way can you address this concern?
All right, on the issue of side effect, the first thing I will have to encourage our women is whenever you want to take up a method, please kindly go to facility where we have a trained provider. There is this that we usually say when you have these like this dot, any facility where you see that green dot logo, that tells you that there is a trained provider, because not all health worker can offer family planning services. So make sure you go to a trained provider. For a trained provider, they will have explained to you some possible, they're likely, most of it is not true. Most of it, they are being exaggerated. So they will have been taken through some of medical tests, some of your concerns will have been put into consideration before you take up any method. They will have envisaged that you may likely react to this, or you may likely have a side effect on it. At the same time, when you eventually now have the side effect, please go back to your provider. Don't always look for solution by yourself or talking to friends. Always go back to service provider, because for all these side effects that women complain about, there is solution. There is one or two things that we can do to avert or to control some of these side effects.
All right. Have you also heard about any reports from women regarding some not governmental places where people go through family planning, but they are not being attended to?
I've not actually had, but I've seen cases where people go to
or maybe they are not given proper treatment.
Yes, yeah. I've seen cases, you know, like one of these methods I will call implants. That one that we normally put on the rod under the arms or upper arms of our clients. And I've seen cases of women that goes to a wrong place. Like that's what I'm just saying now, that people go to facility where they don't have trained provider, and because they didn't know, they think it's like a surgery. They have to cut off they have to open up the hands before they bring out the rod during removal. Also, I've seen cases like that where clients are being mismanaged because they go to the wrong place, and most of the time this creates fear. Because for us now, trained provider, if you want to remove implants, it doesn't take long, and it's not even something, it's not a big deal. You don't have to cut the arm looking at the length of that rod, just a small hole to bring out the rod. So if you now see somebody that is giving you that experience and said, when I want to remove my rod, they have to cut on you'll be scared. And this will also scare other people that have not even gone for the method. So that's why we always say, go to facility. We are sure of government facility, both secondary, tertiary, and all our primary care center, where we have trained provider that can offer the services that will be harmless to the client.
Okay. And yes, as we all know that family planning is not just for the woman. It's a decision that both the man and the woman can take. But it appears that there are limited men when it comes to family planning decision making. What do you feel might be the cause of this?
I think, like the deputy director of nursing union should just spoken of. Number one, you know, we have not been seeing much of male involvement when it comes to issue of women, especially when it comes to a matter of reproductive health. That's why you see men think that you are pregnant, you should be the only one go to the hospital. You should be. We have seen cases where we see our men following up their woman to antenatal clinic. It's a good thing. You are two of you are into it together. The same way we will always advocate that even for family planning clinic, we want to see our men coming up. We want to see our men bringing their women, bringing their wives to the clinic. That even makes that woman feel comfortable. She's not hiding anything. You can't compare that woman with a woman that is hiding it from the husband. Even the fear of hiding it can also aggravate some other side effects. So we have always advocate for men involvement, but men always, you know, men, their health-seeking behavior is low. Hardly will you see a man coming up onto the hospital to do checkup. They feel that they are okay. So I think it is their own health-seeking behavior that also affects the way they also see when women need to seek for medical attentions in terms of their reproductive health and the like. So, but we are pleading and we are also advocating for more men involvement, assisting our women, see to it that your woman also take up a method so that you can have a peaceful family life.
All right, let's move away from the men and let's talk adolescent. Are there What safeguards are there for adolescents? Because definitely they are also involved in this family planning.
Yes, like we always say, family planning is for women of reproductive age. So when we say women of reproductive age, any woman that have started menstruation is a woman of reproductive, because definitely if you start menstruation today, you can get pregnant if you have sex. So family planning methods also available for youth and adolescents. It's also part of their sexual reproductive health. And we are saying this because first thing that we preach is abstinence. They should abstain from sex. But when abstinence is not possible, we don't want them to end up having the unsafe abortion, because that will be the end result. It's not likely that you see an adolescent that is pregnant and walk up to a standard facility and say, I want to abort. They will eventually end up going to courts and at the long run lose their life or lose their womb. So that's why we also preach that when abstinence is not possible, they should also take up a method. Condom is also a method. It has a dual protection, protect from sexual transmitted infection and HIV, and also prevent unwanted or unintended pregnancy. So family planning method has moved from those days that people will say, somebody that have not given birth before should not do family planning. No, that we have methods that is for those that have not given birth before, and anytime that they are ready to give birth, is reversible.
All right, lastly, before we let you go, let's talk about what do you feel the government should do differently when it comes to family planning services?
All right, what we are pleading and we are advocating on the part of our government CSOs and is to increase funding when it comes to family planning. We cannot accelerate this action if there is no fund. So we advocate for more funding to family planning services, knowing fully whether we need consumables, we need commodities and other logistics to make sure that these services is free and is always readily available for our women. Because when you attach cost, most of the time, this deprive less privileged women. And the same little amount they didn't have to access this facility, they still end up having another child that they cannot cater for. So we advocate for more funding for family planning services.
All right, thank you, Miss or Mrs.
Mrs.
Okay, Mrs. Roslyn Akelabi. She's Osun Adolescent Health Desk Officer. Thank you for being a part of us on the news today.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're watching news at 7 on Western Spring Television. Still to come. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund cautions students against applying for student loans through fake portals and websites. We'll bring you more on this when we return. Please stay with us. 7 on Western Spring Television. A reminder of our headlines. The ongoing terrorism case against leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, has been reassigned to another judge. Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno has described as untrue the 700 billion naira fraud allegation leveled against his immediate predecessor, Udom Emmanuel, by the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking, had been probed by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The President Bola Tinubu has extolled the virtue of women as the world celebrates this year's International Women's Day. Another foreign saying at least 20 people have been killed as Russian strikes hit several regions in Ukraine overnight, including Donetsk and Kharkiv. The traders in Osun State have called on the federal and state government to address the economic crisis in the country without delay. The traders, under the auspices of the National Association of Nigerian Traders, Osun State, assured they would support government's effort to tackle the economic crisis. They gave the assurance at the inauguration of their new executives under the leadership of Alhaji Abdulrasheed Aderemi as state chairman and Prince Abayomi Tadishi as secretary. The inauguration was done by the Southwest coordinator of National Association of Nigerian Traders, Princess Adirunke Adidoja, and the legal advisor Michael Bamidele. The new chairman Aderemi said traders in Osun State will continue to cooperate with the state government in the implementation of economic policies of the administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke. Nigeria's annual inflation rate stood at 24.48% in January, well down from the previous month figure of 34.8%, after the country's price index was rebased for the first time in more than a decade.
Is a security net for traders. So that's my advice to them, that we should all work together in one accord. National Association of Traders has been in existence for over 23 years. If I remember, since October 2001. So it's high time for us to actually take the bulls by the horn and work efficiently and do what is needed for our market.
I want them to coordinate them together, to see themselves as a viable force, to get the interests of the marketers and the members of their association, and to be working together with the government so as to move the economy of the state forward. And there must be a unity of purpose and one voice, one mind, and how to get the achievable goals for their members and sustainable development for the Osun State.
I will make sure we unite every unionism pertaining to traders in Osun State. Everything that is being agreed before, we want us to be united now. That is my mission.
In other news, the National Agency for Foods, Drugs Administration and Control, NAFDAC, on Saturday destroyed counterfeit pharmaceutical and other products worth about 100 billion naira at Moniya dump site in Ibadan, Oyo State. Director General of the agency, Mojisola Adeyeye, who performed the exercise at the dump site in the Akiyele local government area of the state, said the affected products include analgin, controlled substances such as tramadol, 225 milligram, amongst others. Represented by the Director of Narcotics, Yeduni Adenuga, Adeyeye reiterated the commitment of NAFDAC to ensuring that food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, chemicals, packaged water, and drinks are safe, wholesome, and effective for human consumption. Muhammad described selling drugs in the open market as an illegal and punishable act under the law. The Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics has condemned the National Board for Technical Education's plan to outsource its equality assurance responsibilities, describing it as an attempt to commercialize the regulation of polytechnics in Nigeria. In a statement released on Saturday, ASUP President Shama Panja expressed the union's rejection of the policy, which is said undermines the credibility and integrity of the accreditation process for technical and vocational education institutions. The policy, which reportedly has the approval of the Minister of Education, seeks to transfer NBT's accreditation and quality assurance responsibilities to private vendors. The NBT is cited inadequate personnel as justification for the move, noting that it currently regulates 789 institutions across the country. However, ASUP insists that outsourcing such a critical function to private firms would create conflict of interest, compromise standards, and jeopardize the confidentiality of sensitive institutional data. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, now fund, has cautioned students against applying for student loans through fake portals and websites. And now fund, in a statement by its Director of Corporate Communication, Sayemi Oluwatui, on Saturday, they said while it remains committed to ensuring that eligible students get the student loan, students should be cautious of fake websites posturing as the official website of the fund. It added that official portal for student loan applications is www.nelf.gov.ng. The NEL Fund also advised students and the public to disregard any other links, website, or messages claiming to offer access to the NEL Fund student loan scheme.